Okay. Oh, I put this is 8.4 ellipses, so I put the wrong thing at the top of that. 8.4 ellipses. Ellipses are really either they look like this or they look like this, okay? So they're kind of a circle either pushed down or shoved together on left or right side. So we have a couple little different things. The definition, I'm not overly concerned about. An ellipse is the set of all points in a plane such that the sum of the distance from the two foci or two fixed points is constant. So if we're talking from here to here, this is the same distance. Okay, so we can talk about that, but we're not going to deal with foci. I took them out. Every ellipse has two axes. Axes. Oh, whatever. A major and a minor. So like in this case, the y would be the major one because it's bigger. And then in this case, the x would be the major axis because it's longer. Okay? So there's a major and minor, two axes. So our equation will look a little different. And this is where you have to start really thinking. This is going to be x minus h squared over a squared plus y minus k, the whole thing squared. So you see it kind of looks like a circle, but then there's denominators, and it always has to equal 1. So if it doesn't equal 1, we have to cause that to happen. And the center is still going to be hk, and the axes are going to be the square root of a and b. Square root of a squared and the square root of b squared, so it's going to be a and b. Okay, so that's going to tell us a couple things. Okay, we're really going to be completing the square again, and we're going to be graphing an ellipse. So I have 3 problems to work with you. So let's start with a simple ellipse. So number 1 on the notes. Number 1 on the notes is x squared over 9 plus y squared over 4 equals 1. So it's in the right form. It really means there's no number with the x and the y on the top, so our center is 0, 0. Because there's no number up there with them. Oh, what happened to my 1? Okay. Now here's how I decide my major and minor. So I look for my major axis. It's as easy as this. Which number's bigger? 9. What's it under? X. That's my major axis. Okay. Does that make sense? What's my biggest number in the denominator, 9 or 4? Well, 9 is. Since it's under the x, x is my major axis. To find the radius in the x direction, we're going to square root the 9. So the radius in the x direction is 3. Okay, that leaves our minor axis as y, because it's the smaller number. And we just take the square root of that, and that's whatever's underneath the y. And that's going to be in the y direction, our radius. So let's draw this, okay? All right. My center 0, 0. Let me change colors here. So let's go 0, 0 is our center. And then the x direction we go 3. And our y direction we go 2. And we do it just like we do a circle, except it's going to look like, oh wow, that was terrible, an ellipse. Okay? All right, let's try the next one. Number 2 is x plus 1 squared over 9 plus y minus 2 squared over 25, and it equals 1. Okay? So now what do I got to figure out? Okay, well, our center is -1, +2. Just remember to switch the signs. Let's look for our major axis. Well, which one's the bigger number and what letter is it under? 25 is the bigger number and it's under y, so that's our major axis. So the radius in the y direction is 5. You don't even have to write the square root of 25, but you can if you want. That leaves our minor axis being the x direction, and the square root of 9 is 3. We're ready to graph. And sometimes they're going to be as easy as that. Okay? Oops, I did it and I didn't actually do anything with it. Okay, so let's, and I believe I put bigger graphs on all yours. So -1, 2. And then in the y direction, we're going to go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just make sure you make it in the right direction. 5. And then in the x direction, we only go 3, because that's the minor axis. And so it should look something like that. Okay? All right, last one, of course, you know, is going to be, we're going to have to do some completing the square. Okay, so this is the mess they give you in number 3, which means I need to do some cleanup here. Okay, this is not in the section, what am I going to do with all this mess? All right, so let's rearrange it so it's looking good and move that 11 to the other side. So I have x squared minus 6x, because I'm putting them together, plus a box. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. Okay. Then I'm going to put my y's together, so that's 4y squared. And I'm going to do something here because I noticed that. And I'm not going to put my diamond yet. And then I'm going to add 11 to both sides. Okay. Well, the first thing I do is look to make sure the lead coefficients are 1. So that's why I already put my box in there for the x, because the x squared coefficient is 1. The y coefficient is not 1, so we got to do some screwing around here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take that 4 out. And this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, 4. I'm going to factor that out. Well, that takes a 4 off of that, but I'm going to factor it off of that too. Okay? And then I'm going to put my triangle or my diamond in there. But this is where you got to be really, really careful. Okay? Did we add one diamond or one triangle to the side or 4? We actually added 4 because look, I took the 4 off and it's on the outside. So if I were to distribute this back through, I have 4 triangles on this side. So on this side over here, we really have an 11 plus a box. Let me shrink this down just slightly. Plus 4 triangles. So that's going to be the trick there. Okay, so be careful with that. Then we have this one here. Now we got to complete some squares. So let's deal with our x's. So let's make that our perfect square. So that's going to be x goes there. Half of 6 is 3, so that goes there. Squaring negative 3 is 9. That's what goes in my boxes. That 4 on the outside stays there for a minute while we complete the square. So again, it's going to be y. Half of 16 is 4. Squaring 4. I'm sorry, half of 16 is not 4. I hope you didn't think that. And did I do that on the problem? Oh, I took a 4 off and I left the 16 there. Here's a mistake. And again, I'm leaving it in the video so you can see my mistake. Here's what I did. I said, well, I'm going to factor out a 4, but I didn't factor a 4 off a 16. So I have to factor that out. So this really should be a 4 here. That makes more sense. If I factored off a 4, why did I still have a 16 there? So half of 4 is actually 2. And then squaring negative 2 is 4. Okay? So what does that mean I have on the right side? I really have 11 plus 9 plus 16 is what I have over here. All right, so let's see what's going on here. I have x minus 3 squared plus 4 y minus 2 squared. And over here, I have 36. Now remember, you have to have a 1 if we're graphing an ellipse. So that means we need to divide this by 36 to make that a 1, but whatever I do to one side, and these are my 2 chunks. So here's how we get our denominator to know our major and minor axis. So once we divide, this just stays like this. We then need to simplify 4 over 36, and 4 goes into 36 9 times, so 4 over 36, this becomes a 9 down here, because 4 goes into 36 9 times. And then we got our 1, okay? The reason we need it to look like that is so that we can figure out our center and our major and minor axes, okay? So our center, 3, 2. Our major axis, well, which one's the bigger number? It's under the x. So the major is going to be the square root of 36, so the radius in the x direction is 6. And the minor is y, and so the radius in the y direction is going to be 3. Let's graph our equation. Okay, let me pick a different number to graph with. So we're going to start at 3, 2. We're going to go 6 in the x direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I almost didn't have room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you don't have complete room, just go off a little bit. And in the y direction, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And then I make my ellipse. Okay, that was a lot of work, so you might want to go back and watch that one again to see where I got all those numbers. But we can always help you in class too.